We at NextGen Scientist Foundation promote Indian life science students to pursue a career in science. And as a part of this initiative, we are running the NGS internship program, which offers financial support to Indian students who wish to undertake internship at any good lab in India. In an attempt at promoting science communication, we also have an annual essay writing competition. Since last year, we have built an online Discord based platform, the Indian Life Science Network, for encouraging seamless communication between life science students across the globe. Please do ask questions in between whenever you have in mind, and press the raise hand icon and I shall put you on stage. So today we are honored to have with us Dr. Sucheta Tripathy from Indian Institute of Chemical Biology. She earned her PhD in plant molecular biology from Center for Plant Molecular Biology and Biotechnology, Hyderabad. Later, she joined DSQ Biotech Limited, Chennai for a short time as a scientist and moved on to Virginia Bioinformatics Institute, USA, as a senior research scientist. Dr. Tripathi has been making significant contributions to the field of computational genomics and bioengineering. A very warm welcome, ma'am. We are really honored to have you with us today.
Thank you, Tanaya. It's my pleasure to be here and to interact with you and the students who are here right now.
So, ma'am, we would like to get a glimpse of your journey so far, and so in course of that, we'll be coming across. Asking you a few questions through which the students will get an idea about the life of a scientist. So, you
Sure.
did your research in plant molecular biology. What motivated you to opt for research in India?
To be very, very honest with you, I think when I got my master's, after that we had only very few fellowship options like the CSIR, NET, and UGC NET. And other than that, we didn't have any other fellowship exams. So that was a natural course for me because plant sciences, there are not many opportunities. And then I decided to write the entrance exams and then I cleared it. So that is a natural path for me to choose for a PhD program immediately after that. And I was also very much fascinated by people making lots of contribution in this plant sciences. In fact, actually, plant sciences are underrated. If you look, like right now, some of you might appreciate that we are getting fruits, for example, like grapes, oranges, and all these fruits were not available many years back. Maybe when you were not born. So those fruits were actually imported from different countries, and it was very expensive and it was not affordable. But now you see everybody can afford those things, and that is because of agricultural improvement of the crops. So which is not very often discussed, and I was very much fascinated by the plant genetic transformation because it was coming up with the BT cotton and all those things, and that was one of my motivations for joining research. And I actually worked in the genetic transformation in cotton, which was a very big deal during that time.
Okay, so ma'am, so you were specifically motivated to be in plant research because, as you mentioned rightly, it is quite underrated not only in India but globally in general, although no specific reasons for that.
Yeah, correct. Because if you see if you follow some of the scientists, agricultural scientists or plant scientists, you'll see that India didn't have enough food supply before in 1960s or 70s till the Green Revolution happened. And after that, now India is a food surplus. So you think about it, India was having less population, then we did not have enough food and we had more land because people are less, so more land was available for crop production. Still we are having scarcity of crops and we are getting importing crops food. So we had this Bengal famine and all those things because we did not have proper agricultural developments. Right now, see, India has become a food surplus nation and there is ample of food available, which is not discussed. And because our media is very much skewed about a lot of
Hmm.
dramatizing things and things like that, they do not talk about the right things. So that is the whole reason why it is quite underrated, and I think that people should try and appreciate the amount of work that has been done in this area.
Yes. So, ma'am, would you say that the plant science is equally funded as you find in animal sciences?
Um, Animal sciences are more funded, and that is the truth, because it is mostly linked with the humans and the drugs. Although we know that drugs are not very easy to find, and to find a target is also not very easy. So you get proportionate amount of funding. But at the same time, I would say that plant also gets, if not the equal amount of funding, but at least 30 to 40% of the funding goes to the plant research. And if you have a really great idea, if you have a path-breaking idea, probably you should get funded. You should not have a problem in getting a funding.
Okay. So, ma'am, like, what were the hurdles and challenges that you faced when you were a student during your PhD, and what kept you motivated even after those?
Um, I was trained in a center called Center for Plant Molecular Biology, and to be very very honest with you, when I compare our students' life in IICB to our, maybe during my generation it was true for all of the people who did PhD that time. We did not have enough facilities. We did not have enough money to buy chemicals. We did not have many things, and we did not have what we call like access to the libraries, and there was no internet. So of course we are very much behind. But then if you look at now, although our students have everything, but still if you compare globally, you will find that the only difference I find with other countries and our country, the difference is here the purchase procedure and procuring something and doing the paperwork is so complicated that engages our students most of the time, and waiting for the chemical to arrive or some procedure to be made, and that is one, I think, a deterrent. And then most of our things are imported. If you look at all the equipments we have, most of them are imported, and most of the chemicals are also imported. So getting repaired, getting something done needs a lot of money. And I feel that, if we are self sufficient in some areas which we can manage locally, that will significantly improve our research output.
Right. And it will also help in reducing the time invested in all these things.
Yes, yes.
I
I
mean,
think now there are few companies, but then the quality is not good. The reason is we don't rely on those companies. Even my lab doesn't rely on those companies. The reason is we found that product is not good. Okay. So if we don't support them, then we'll never get somebody who will compete with the global scenario. We'll always have poor quality things, and we will never be able to become self-reliant.
right. So, ma'am, we have one question. Yes, please go ahead. Hello?
Yeah, I can't hear anything.
Hello?
Hello,
Yes.
ma'am. I'm interested in doing PhD, ma'am. I did MSc in Bioinformatics, ma'am. What should I do, ma'am?
See, the first thing you should do is first get a fellowship.
Yes,
Nowadays,
ma'am.
there are so many fellowship programs are there, so try to get into one of the fellowships. And then, if you're really motivated, do PhD, because PhD path is not like a very smooth path. And never compare your life with somebody of your age or your peer group, because there will be disappointments. But I would say that if you are committed to your field, then the sky is the limit. I mean, you can achieve anything you want.
Yeah,
The reason is, like, if you do a very dedicated research, first of all, you get a postdoc, which should not be your optimal path. I mean, it should not be your optimal goal, but it's good to get trained outside. And then after you have a global exposure, you can choose either, there are some jobs are available, although the jobs are very scanty, but there are opportunities also for opening your own companies or doing entrepreneurship, or starting up something on your own, which is what is required for our country. So maybe
okay,
I
ma'am.
think.
My friend and I are discussing about opening a company, ma'am. We want to know about the fundings. Do any of the fundings we can get from people, ma'am? What should we do for opening a company, ma'am?
See, there are so many now DBT, Herb. They are giving regularly. They are having programs for startup companies like uh, student initiated companies, which are young students who can apply for those with a good idea, and you get funded. You should have like some a good idea, and you should have a good proposal, and they give away at least 50 lakh. Incubation centers are there nowadays everywhere.
Yeah.
Birac is one which has incubation center, and then
Mm,
you can just look around and see, read their procedure, although it is little bit lengthy, but
mm,
once you get to it, probably you should get. And there are so many other opportunities like BRSI. They are funding new students, and there are highlight programs. Young researchers are getting highlighted for awards, and
mm.
many opportunities are opening. And I think one thing you could do is join the Twitter, because Twitter is a platform where I find that it is very science friendly. Other platforms are there, but Twitter, if you follow the right people, you get to know the right things at the right time, and
Okay.
information is the key. So you can get to know and you can grow. And nowadays, with the computer, internet, everything is available.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. So, are there any more questions? Okay. So if not, I'll continue with the discussion. So, ma'am, later on you moved to the Indian industries after your PhD. So, how
Right.
was the working style different from academia?
To be very honest with you, in India, when I joined the companies, it was year 2000, right? So that is the era when there was a lot of hype going on with bioinformatics, and there was hype going on with the Y2 problem with US and the economy collapsing. So many companies sprouted, and they wanted to do outsource in the sense that the jobs were there in now also we have such companies where NIH funded projects are there. So some people are getting those projects and launching a company in India, and get the Indians work for them and give the output. I think this is a very successful model also, and it is working. And I worked in one such companies where it was getting projects from outside, like bioinformatics projects. We are working on developing some software. So which is where I started, but it was not like very challenging for me, because that time it was just starting up, warming up, and because I got a direct job offer, so I had to leave. But otherwise, I think it was nowadays my some of my students are working in such companies, and they're quite happy. They're getting job offers every very frequently, and they're changing the jobs, which is not a good thing, but they do, because they get a better offer.
Okay, okay, great. So, I mean, later on, so you moved on to Virginia Bioinformatics Institute as a senior research scientist. So, how was the work culture and research ambience? How do you find it was different from what you had seen in India?
See, in USA, the thing is, if I compare with here we are doing a lot of things, multitasking, and multitasking is actually is a killer. It never helps,
Mm-hmm.
because if you spend your time doing multiple things, you will not be good at anything. So I
Mm-hmm.
found that when I was in Virginia Tech, I was working in one project at a time, and I was concentrating, and we were not perturbed like here every time I am sitting in my office, there will be like every 5 minutes there is a possibility that somebody will come. But there, I days where there are days when I don't see people, and we used to communicate by email. So that is a culture, and that is also extreme. You don't get to see people, you get depressed, and you find that there is no one to talk to. But then But then sometimes quietness leads to more focus on something, and that is the only difference I find, because in bioinformatics we don't need any chemicals, we sit and work. So that is the
Mhm.
whole difference we find here, that here lots of disturbance. Like suppose I'm working on something, somebody will tell, give me this report, submit this, and did you teach this? Give me that, give me this. So this kind of things are distractions. So once you get distracted, it's very difficult for you to come back and continue with what you're doing. So here is what I feel, that we should not, like our funding agency, ho, yeah, or institutes, they demand a lot of things from the PIs. Even we also do the students. When the students are working, we call them anytime. Like,
Mm.
did you do this? Did you do that? And that their chain of thoughts are broken. And I think these simple things, like not disturbing somebody and sending an email and waiting for somebody, will probably help. And I find it that way. It's very, very difficult for me to focus when I'm in the office. So
Right.
I
Even for the students, actually, this extra additional administrative works like running after purchase things and other, it creates a lot of hindrance.
I know it is not only that. See, students are doing the groundwork, and the PI has to remember. Suppose we are buying, say, 50 things, and suppose one student
Mhm.
is handling 5 things, then 10
Mhm.
students are there, there are 50 jobs. And then the company is mailing us and telling that, did you pay me? Did you do this?
Mhm.
Then we immediately pass on that to the student. So then this communication channel is actually taking some of your bandwidth. We can talk in terms of internet. So this bandwidth
Right.
taking is actually sucking the energy and enthusiasm out of you, which should not be actually. In India, we should try to adopt a system where these things should be seamless, but it's not. And this is what I think the biggest hindrance, according to me.
Yes. I agree. I agree with you on this point. So, ma'am, you returned to India with the Ramalingua Re-Entry Fellowship, and we all
Mhm.
know it's quite competitive. And so, how difficult was it to get this award?
Actually, my journey is something which is quite different from others. I came from a background where, in fact, my guide actually passed away a long time back. So I did not know anybody, and I have been
Mm-hmm.
trying to come back to India from 2009. And then, because in India everybody says that if you don't know anybody, you won't get anything. And I also started believing that, because in India, known people generally get things. But I can assure you, if you are persistent, you can definitely get what you want. I wanted to come back for a different reason. I wanted to come back to India because I thought that this is an area where I can contribute, and genomics was not very much visible from outside. So that was my
Mm-hmm.
motivation, and I thought that there is nothing more I could do in the US, so I wanted to come back. But in 2009, I tried to write an application to the Ramalinga Swami, and then I got rejected because maybe I don't know, I did not know how to write it. And then they also wanted a host institute, because host
Mm.
institute should be able to provide you space and other things. Otherwise, you will not be able to do your research. So that was one of the drawbacks. Then 2010 again I applied without even a host institute, again got rejected. And 2011 what I did, I applied for a job in IICB, and then there was complete transparency. I applied for the job, and there was director was Professor Siddhartha Roy, and he asked me to come and give a talk. So I
Mm-hmm.
gave a talk in 2011, and he found my work very interesting. And then he suggested me that why don't you apply for the Ramalinga Swami Fellowship, because that will help you to land in India. So
Mm.
I took his signature, and IICB agreed to be my first institute because he suggested. So I applied this time, and this time with every rejection, I learned that first rejection was bad to handle. Then second rejection was also bad, and third time I learned quite a bit that how I should tell. I mean, you should write a proposal that what you want to actually do, and then they also see that what are your potential as a how many first author papers. First author papers are generally your own work. So they generally see that what is the potential you are trying to bring back to the country. So that is how they got. I got selected, and that is how I came back. But I think every student, when you are going, just try to find a host institute, talk with the directors, and maybe the directors are always very very busy, they may not reply to you, but be persistent, do not give up. Once you apply, do not think that okay, they are not replying, why should I do this, because they may not be actually reading your emails.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, do not think that that person did not reply to me, I should not write again. That is actually a myth. They may not be having anything against you, they may be just plain busy, they may not have seen your application. So if you have a really good application, people generally want to take good person to the lab, so that the lab gets known for certain kind of research.
Right. So once you got that offer and you came back, so you must be having a huge amount of time invested in setting up a new laboratory. So what were the challenges that you had during that time?
Yeah, that is what I have already said, that the purchase procedure. This is the only problem I have with India, is we have a very complicated purchase procedure which defies sometimes all the logic. And then there is a rounding up of money. Like every March, our money goes back or becomes zero. So you need to
Mm-hmm.
spend by a given time, and that is something I still do not understand, why we should follow this system, because research requirement for the research comes in a timely manner. When you need, you should buy. Not that March comes, I should buy. And because of this, we are actually wasting a lot of money. And this is the whole thing I have found very difficult to understand. I did not understand the purchase procedure, and I did not understand why the money has to go back in the first place. And then I lost a lot of money because of this, and out of my ignorance. And purchase was a big headache for me, because buying things and following up with the payment and this kind of jobs are really really tough. And this thing is handled in other countries in a very very nice way, and I hope that in India someday we adopt that system, where like in other countries, like when I was working in US, I had set up lots of servers. So for server, what we go, suppose I want to buy a Dell machine, I will go to the Dell website, and then I will make the server specification that I want this, and then I say pay, and the pay should be paid from the card, and the card is loaded from the grant money, and then directly the money goes to the company, and I don't have to deal with any vendor, I don't have to deal with any kind of intermediate people. And the payment,
Mm-hmm.
finance is not required, bill is not required, nothing is required, and the money is the server is coming to you. And if you don't find it good, you directly talk with the company, and if it is in a warranty period, they will come and serve it. So why the need for all these intermediate people? I think this is a totally wasteful exercise that we are doing right now. We should avoid doing this, and we should have like a card where you go to some, say, NIB. Then you go
Mm-hmm.
there and you purchase it, and then you pay from your card. Nowadays we get all these international cards. So they will cut whatever money has to be cut, and then you rescue it from the border and bring it to your lab. That's all. And I think
Right.
we should adopt that system, and that will be completely transparent. It's not going to lead to any kind of corruption or anything. We are just trying to protect ourselves from corruption and landing in more corruption.
Right. Correct. Of course, this is the required change that should be brought in. So, ma'am, I have come across your lab website, and you are doing a lot of cool stuffs in your lab, like developing new softwares and next-gen sequencing of microbes under stress conditions. So, what is the
Right.
long-term research goal of your laboratory?
Um, I feel that all our microbes, like in India, India is a mega diverse country where we have 17% of the microbes, and I have been really motivated by the discovery of penicillin and other things, where it is coming directly from the fungus. And
Mm-hmm.
so in India, the extremophiles, which are surviving. You know the story of Taq polymerase, right? Taq polymerase is
Right.
also coming from an extremophile. So I
Mm.
was very much intrigued by these organisms called as cyanobacteria, which are uh, 3 billion years old. The Earth is 4 billion years old, and these are 3 billion years old. They have been surviving all these years through all these events and without much changes in their cells and the patterns. So I am very much intrigued that what is there in their DNA that makes them resilient to all these climate changes and everything. And in fact, I'm looking for the genes which we can really use for harvesting, certain chemically important economically important enzymes that we can use, like for example hot spring species are there and they are producing some kind of, there of course they are having DNA polymerase, DNA polymerases, and they are having so many other enzymes that we can definitely use for our own benefit. And there are fungi, the fungi are everywhere. The fungi infect
Mm.
plants, and so they degrade the cell walls very effortlessly. And we see that we have litters, we have biodegradable litters everywhere, and then we make our streets and everything dirty. But there are companies which are using this for making electricity. So that is something
Mm.
that I feel that we should harvest, and that is the motivation for our lab to have a cocktail of enzymes which we can use or commercialize as a package that we can use to generate electricity or energy out of the biodegradable waste, or
Mhm.
produce chemically or economically important enzymes that we can use for medicines, or maybe enzymes for the lab purposes. So we are in the middle of many things. So we are getting lots of targets, lots of leads. So we are trying to evaluate. We are in the stage of actually evaluating.
Okay. So, ma'am, one big problem right now is, I mean, we are running out of fossil fuels. So do you feel that your work can be channelized in that way also, where we can
Yeah,
develop alternatives?
that is our motivation. Actually, second generation, the first generation is the biofuels, and sorry, the biofuels are there. The biofuels are where you are getting the agriculturally improved crops like sugarcane and other things, and these are fermented to ethanol, and ethanol can be, but that has a huge problem that can
Mm.
take away your land. But these enzymes which are produced by these organisms, there are companies actually, alginol and other companies, which are using the power of algae to produce ethanol from like seawater. So the organism in fact converts ethanol from
Mhm.
aldehydes or some other byproducts of the cell. So that is definitely one of our objectives till we find a suitable enzyme. But the only problem with this is, ethanol is toxic. So we have to genetically modify the organism in such a way that it doesn't get killed with the ethanol concentration, or the ethanol is being harvested. So that is also one of our agendas, but so far we haven't got any success. But we are into that kind of research.
Okay. So, ma'am, out of curiosity, I'm just asking you, is it also possible to, I mean, develop some or engineer some bacteria which might be useful in treating sewage and maybe producing something important from that? I mean, sewage
Correct.
is one of the.
Correct. I think Tanya, that is a right thing to ask. In fact, see, when you go to a sludge site, and some of our students have also done some preliminary work on that. If you go to a sludge, first thing you will see that there are some algae growing on that. So the algae growing on that sludge is actually treating those sludge. Uh, it is treating those to make it better. And so we are very keen on looking at those organisms and checking that what are the components that is changing. In fact, we have got a fungal culture which is converting chromium into a toxic to non-toxic form, and we are trying to get into a material. Similarly, cocktail of bacteria, cocktail of organisms, because in nature they don't grow alone, they grow in a combination of different cultures. So we have to develop cocktails which can be used for treatment of these plants in a very economically efficient way. It should not be very expensive. Then it becomes very difficult. So that is in fact some of our topmost agenda that we are working towards it.
Okay, great. So, are there any questions from the audience? If you have any questions, please raise your hand and I'll put you on stage where you can directly interact with Dr. Tripathi. So, what is the scope of computational genomics research in India, you feel?
See, right now is the era of data, right? Everywhere you see data, data is coming in very, very large quantity. And now there is like top-down approach where first thing we do is sequence the genome. Earlier we are going to the gene, and from the gene we are trying to find where they are located and all. So right now the sequencing costs are so cheap, and the companies are also proliferating every nooks and corner of this country. So one can sequence an organism very easily, and then the data that comes out of the sequencer need in fact expert hands for analyzing those, because if you run it through pipeline, we all know that it's not going to give you a meaningful result. So that is where I think a big opportunity which is coming up in India, that people are sequencing now. Single cell genomics are there, single cell transcriptomics are there, and then this is cancer detection is there, variant detections are there. So all these are sequencing based methods where sequencers are sequencing and somebody is sitting there to analyze the data. Unless you know how to do it, that is a very skilled job. And nowadays I think opportunities are lots of opportunities are there in hospitals and other centers, diagnostics, and this miRNA based diagnostics are also there, where the sequencing is the primary thing which is done, and then next is to understand which one as a marker or something, the structural variants or mutations. So this is where I think the computational genomics is having a lot of role to play.
Okay, so are there any specific government agencies or bodies that particularly promote research in this areas?
There is a core. I think there is. I forgot the name of the company institute. In fact, it is called as something starts with core. So it does and there is InSTEM Institute, which is doing the sequencing. So I think there are few labs which are into this, and NIBMG is also one of them. And many institutes are now opening up for doing this kind of research, contract research for people, where you get the job done and you get paid for this. One has
Okay.
to really search for those. I top of my head, I do not remember, but there are many.
Yeah, so the opportunities are quite in some number. So it's not a big problem if somebody wants to pursue a career here.
Yeah, at least I feel in the areas of sequencing and big data, there is a lot of huge amount of opportunities coming up, and mostly, the running of the sequencers. There are
Mm-hmm.
sequencing companies are there, but the people you see, the with who you are dealing, like probably you have experience, and we have experience all the time, that the people you are dealing with are not very good quality people, and the reason is they are not finding well suitable people. So there are lots of opportunity. If they find a good person, they will not let them go.
Mm-hmm. So, ma'am, this is a question on the personal note. Like, you are a senior scientist, a teacher, a mother, all in one together. So, what is the secret to your healthy work-life balance?
One thing is you have to be very disciplined, and the other thing is you have to be very motivated to keep going. Because I find when I get up, and the life has become very very busy, because I have to take care of my daughter, her education, and then and the office and the lab. So we generally don't have any free time for sitting and relaxing. And I don't remember I have gone for any kind of relaxation or movie in very recent past. So the thing is, we have to be very disciplined all the time and continuously work. Although I know this is not a good thing, good healthy thing, but if you are enjoying it, then definitely it is worth doing it. And for me, the biggest biggest reward for me is when my students do well and they get a good job and they make names for themselves. So this is a very big joy and satisfaction, which is
Yes,
what I
yes.
think keeps me going.
Great. So, ma'am, how do you feel mentors can help students to achieve their work-life balance?
Um, uh, Actually, mentors, I can talk from my own perspective, what I expect from the students. Most of the time, mentors are also busy doing, say, 20 things, and students may be doing 5 things, right? So the
Right.
student may be thinking that mentor probably knows this, or mentor should come back and talk to me, and they may be just thinking that mentor is not coming and they are angry or something. And this is what your own creation. But actually, if the student reaches out to the mentor, I think keep a communication channel open. Go reach out to your mentor and ask them for help. If you need something, just be very forthright. And mentors should also have like weekly meeting with the students, where they talk to them not only about their science but also their other aspects, like how they are doing personally, whether they are happy, how is their mental health. So this way they can definitely, they need to know about the student inside and out, apart from the problem. And I believe that a student doesn't have to really publish a science or a nature paper to be successful. A student with a perfect mental health will definitely get to a better place. So I feel that the mentors play a very, very important role in talking with the students, although they may be busy, but they should take
Mm-hmm.
their time out every week. They should sit with the students, and also the students should not feel shy that I should not talk, or they should not shy out from going to the teacher. They should, if face to face you are having a problem, just drop an email and then just reach out. And I have seen that when my students are reaching out to me, and I know better about them, because what happens is I may be busy in 20 things and other things may be taking my priority. So I may not be thinking about them directly. So the students also need to reach out to the teacher, and the teacher also needs to sit with the student patiently and see what else is happening in their life. And this is very, very important, I feel.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely correct. This communication is very important for a healthy PhD life. So, what would be your suggestion to the students who are planning to enter academia or who want to pursue research? What would be your suggestion?
To the students who are planning to do research, I would like to say that it's not a very easy and straightforward route for you. And if you really enjoy doing science, then only enter. Because otherwise, if you just want to earn money, or you want to do something else, or you want to compare your life with somebody else, then you may get frustrated, because this life is not comparable with anyone. This is a different kind of life, and you should enjoy doing research. Then only you should do research, because you will have lots of ups and downs, and when you do experiment, something will fail and it will not be always very easy. But then if you are enjoying it, it will make your journey very seamless. And always be resilient. Mane, do not give up. Like some paper has got rejected, or you could not publish your first or third paper in time, or something is actually not working. Do not give up, because if you give up very easily, then nothing will work for you. Mane, you have lost it. So if you have
Mm.
that much of strength with you, you should be mentally strong, so that you derive some inspiration and try to be resilient. Then only, and I can give you examples. Like I have known many people in my life, and I have seen them. Those people who are resilient, like persistent, they go a very, very long way. Those who give up, like they want to see that okay, this is not working, so it's not going to work, and let me try something else. So then your life's path will be different, and then you may regret later that why did I do and why did I waste my time. But be prepared for lots of ups and downs. It's not going to be smooth, but if you do really honest hard work, then you definitely will be somewhere.
Yes, true. So resilience and hard work, these are the keys to the successful research career. And not only research career, but in any field. It's required. You need resilience for even just leading a normal life. There will be so many ups and downs everywhere. So
Yeah, and
that is the
for
key.
that, I think you need a good mental health and physical health. Apart from physical health, you should have a good mental. I mean, we are taking care of physical health, but nobody teaches you how to take care of your mind. And mind is
Exactly.
the one which fluctuates, and we have so many things going on inside our mind that plays lots of games with us. So we have to be able to take care of our mental health first, which is very, very important.
Exactly. So, ma'am, on this note, I would like to ask you a question. Like, I mean, there should be counseling facilities set up in the institutions. I mean, higher education institutions, like we see in many other such international organizations. But I have
Correct.
hardly seen such institutions in India. Where there is a separate wing for dealing with that, or such certain courses that will help you to teach even during the coursework that how to deal with stress. Because I am aware that you must have heard the recent unfortunate incident that happened in Aizawl, Kolkata.
Correct. Correct.
So,
Correct. So I think,
I
here we are not naming it like, counseling session, but we do have some institute do have, at least we IICB have one students affairs committee. And I think it generally tries to hear out the student when the students have a problem. They can reach out to the faculties, and there are people who are actually trying to counsel you on something, and they try to solve your problem if you have a genuine problem. Sometimes, most of the time, the problem is on the both the sides. Like, it's not
Mhm.
always on one side, it is on both the sides. So if there is a case where you are finding that you are unable to solve your problem, please reach out to the affairs student affairs committee, or academic affairs committee, or somebody you trust, or some faculty you want to talk to. Then probably it will help, instead of keeping everything to yourself, which is not a good thing. And nobody can teach you how to think. um, and maybe if you trust somebody, definitely need to talk, and if you want to talk. And counseling facilities as such, they do not exist like, a psychiatrist or somebody will talk to you. But there are some senior faculties who definitely can listen to you and try to solve your problem in their own ways. I don't know whether ICER has one, but institutes do have, as far as my knowledge goes. And then you have your peer groups. I think never take the extreme step. If you have a problem, talk with your peers, or talk with somebody who can solve your problem.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely correct. So, I mean, it's always good to discuss your problems with someone who is more experienced with you, and from especially in the same field, and would be able to help you out, or somebody who is very close to you, could be a friend, could be a your own somebody from your relative, whatever.
Yeah,
Should
your
be
peer
fine, but
groups are there.
and if you know of any student who wants to do a internship, you can refer, if possible, to Next Gen Scientist Foundation, because we will be able to sponsor their program.
Thank you, Tanaya, for this wonderful work that you are doing, and I will definitely support you in any ways I can to help in some ways. I'll talk to you later. And it
Yes,
was
ma'am.
really a pleasure talking to you. And this is what we love doing in our job, talking with the students. And I think it's my pleasure. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
ma'am. Thank you so much, and thank you all of you who joined us today. Please have a good night. Thank you all.